All right, welcome to the daily market analysis for 16 June. What we're going to do tonight is go over updates to the market since last night and also identify setups happening tonight going into tomorrow. So first pair we're going to go over is going to be EJ. Right, I had pushed this out earlier in the evening, a lot earlier than I usually do, right? Because I seen a cross. So cover that real quick. Excuse me, I'm trying to drag this chart over.
There we go.
All right. So last night during the Asian session, they came back and hit the high once again. And then EMA's crossed over barely, right? And this is about where we entered at. Came back up. We exited. And then last night, they came back up and hit it once more, all right, issuing us a moon at the top, railroad track. You see TDI hitting that top Bollinger Band, and then immediately, almost immediately, EMA's crossed, and they dropped for, that is 80 pips, all right? Woke up feeling pretty sick about that. I missed that. I didn't get home till late last night because I had two soldiers flying out for Korea. So I was up pretty late. So when I got home, I crashed. Not only did I miss that one, I'll cover what I foresee happening tonight, though, before we go into that. All right, so on the 4-hour time frame, currently we got price action down here at the 200 EMA, this white line, the Mayo, right? If you look at TDI, this white line right here, it's at the bottom Bollinger Band. All right, so we haven't got a second leg on the 4-hour time frame, but if we drop down to the 1 hour, we got first and second right here at the 800. So I'm expecting them to come back up tonight, probably around the 13 EMA before continuing the trend short, or the 50, right? I don't foresee them going any higher than the 50. That's the bias for tonight. Ultimately, the trend is short. Correction, it is short. So we just gotta wait for them to complete that level, right? Come back up, do a stop punt, induce traders long before continuing down. All right. So AJ is another one. I know I'm sick about all this stuff. One thing about AJ though, AJ didn't make the move during the London session, right? Not during the U.S. session either. They did it right after the U.S. session, which is a time zone that I don't trade. I primarily trade the London session, right? That's our money session. The U.S. is iffy sometimes. I would have held this if it had happened during the U.S. session, but since it happened afterwards, I really don't even pay attention to the market after that time because it's usually not much going on during that. All right, so NC.
Yo, what is your projection?
Oh, excuse me, getting ahead of myself. So for AJ tonight, we're looking for an AFP setup, right? And away from peak, or shifting away from all of this, right? The market makers got money trapped up here, right? All the traders that got it wrong, thinking that they were going to go long, if the market maker comes back up here, he's going to let them all break even, right? And get out with small losses. He's not going to do that, so he'll come up, continue up a little tonight, and then continue short. So drop down to the 1 hour time frame. So they're already pinning the 50 and the 800, the blue line, both blue lines, right? The baby blue line and the the royal blue line. TDI is approaching the market baseline, this yellow one right here. So we're expecting it to hit it. If not, come just above it and then continue down. All right, again, we got price action pinning the 50 and the 800 now. All right, moving on to NC. NC was another one that I had missed. I trade these two sessions and in between, right? And this move happened during the U.S. session this morning. They shifted total of about 50-ish pips, right? And they're back up to retest that high. Actually, this was the one I was going long. So yeah. I projected them coming down right into this box. Sorry, I disregarded this box. I projected them coming down back into this box. They exceeded this box, right, and did a stop hunt, right, to that stop hunt box. Remember that 25 pip stop hunt box. Every day during the Asian session, what they do is they give us the initial high and the initial low, right, and they trade within that range from the high and the low, right, until usually about London, if not US, and then they make their move. Well, they came up above and gave us, it's not really a M, right? It's a peak formation. They pinned the 800, right, and shifted that down to this 25 pip stop hunt box range. They didn't drop into the box. They did it outside during outside of the US session, right? And then continued back up during the Asian session today. All right, so they didn't make that move last night long like I said they were going to, right? They consolidated and then pulled up just a few hours ago. So, like I said before, variation on the theme. Just because they do it one time doesn't mean that is going to happen every single time. All we're looking for is basically the M's and W's. We get our zone to pay attention to, and then we wait on the timing, right? If it's outside of London and US, we don't trade it. Most of the time during the Asian session, we don't trade it, but these are basically our focus areas right here. Just because they popped outside of it doesn't mean that, the setup is not valid. All right, UJ. So on the 30-minute time frame, you can see they came up to that reverse zone that I painted last night. They hit it and dropped, right? TDI was outside of the Bollinger Band, so I did not send that signal, and all they really did afterwards was consolidate. There was no real trend down, right? It's mainly sideways movement, and then they popped back up, not only to retest this zone, right, but once that news release happened, that big news, US news, they exceeded that and came up here towards the stop hunt box, right, and ended the day basically at a new high, right? This is one huge stop hunt, right? They shifted that zone out of there and snatched that market away from them guys, and then hopefully they put their stop loss down here in a decent spot. But they shifted the zone away from them guys and then basically gave us a new high. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have a peak formation now because it succeeded this high from Friday, right? We got a peak formation. There's a moon. That's a good indicator right there. TDI is popped out of the Bollinger Band and it's at the high level line. That's what we like to see. All right, so we'll just wait for a second leg on the 1-hour time frame. So we'll just wait for a second leg on the 1-hour time frame. Hopefully they give us that during London session tonight, the gray box, right? It'll look like this. Hopefully they come down. They've already given us the initial high of the day. We're just waiting on the initial low and then for them to come back up, and we'll see how they behave once they get back into this zone and then drop down and wait for the 30-minute cross. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over here because that's my favorite pair for the night. It's not moving.
You're about to hear Mr. Jody in his Apple comments.
All right, so moving on to AJ or CJ, excuse me. So on the 30-minute time frame, you can see last night, I said that they were going to. What's the bias on this one? This one was short. So this is the reverse zone that I painted yesterday. During our last webinar, I said that they were going to come back into this zone, right? And then reverse. They hit right at the bottom of the zone, right below the 200 EMA, the Mayo line, right? They pinned it and then dropped. Didn't really shift a lot, right? A few pips, and then have basically been consolidating. There hasn't been any real trend like this, or for example. All right, so no bias for tonight. We'll go up to the 4-hour time frame. They're at the 000 line now, right? But TDI is not near the bottom Bollinger Band, so this is going to be a pass for us until they basically shift a little more into their trend, until they complete another level. We'll say that. This is another one that came back down towards the zone, right? But it didn't happen in the box during the time frame that we trade, right? The London and the US session. They made the shift right after the US session, right down here, giving us a new high. A new low. And then they gave us a second leg during the Asian session and then took off. So essentially, just like the pair I covered earlier, right? We missed this because we didn't catch the. Actually, we did. They crossed during the US. So that's one I just wasn't paying attention to. I got wrapped up in another one. So this one I wasn't paying attention to. So for the bias tonight, I'm expecting them to come back up towards continue up towards the 50 EMA, and then continue short. We'll go to the day time frame to get a true bias. Yeah, so they got to come back up, right? Get this TDI back into the bottom Bollinger Band, at least to the mid market baseline, the yellow line, right? So we'll see how they behave once they get back into that bottom Bollinger Band, which is this blue line right here, and see how far they come back up. We'll be paying attention to the RSI once they get up here towards the to the market baseline. I did not cover this one last night.
We haven't covered this one in a while.
All right, so UJ is our promising pair for the night.
You want to hit UC or do you want me to?
I did cover UC last night. All right, so
we've been talking about that for months.
Right. So for UC, the US dollar, Canadian dollar. There we are. All right, so I had said last night that they were going to come up here to this range, and I said that they were going to come up to this range and hit it, right, and then reverse back down. They closed right below it, right? EMA's crossed, they consolidated, and then dropped during the US. It wasn't a strong shift, but then pulled back up, right, and basically completed one level. So for tonight, we'll go up to the 4-hour time frame. for tonight, they've issued us a moon here. You can see TDI is outside the top Bollinger Band and at that high level line. So far, the ADR, average daily range, is 257, right? And if we pull this down here, the average daily range is 202. So we definitely have exceeded the ADR times 3. So they're going to be looking to reverse. So we'll drop down to the 1 hour time frame. Just waiting for, we got our peak formation, right? Just waiting for that second leg, hopefully during the London session. And then once that happens, we'll drop down to the 30-minute time frame and then wait for the EMAs across, and we'll take it short. So I'll move this one over as well. And before I pass it, let me verify on my phone to see if we have any huge news releases. We had a lot of U.S. news today. Nope, no news releases.
Not for them.
So U.S. has already done their damage, as you can tell with these strong shifts. So hopefully it'll be a gradual trend tonight and not aggressive and quick like this one here, because when they make aggressive moves, they could go either way. All right, I'll pass it off to Nick so he can go over his pairs. There you go.
All right, appreciate you. All right. First thing we're gonna start off is with GU, the trade I pushed out earlier today. Let me before we do that, I want to verify the time that I pushed that trade out, just so I can get I can provide clarification. When was it?
13-ish.
No, it was 9:30. Okay, so perfect. All right, here we go. So we took GU for about 65 today, depending on where you guys got in. If you got in a little later, or a little later, you could have gotten a better entry or worse entry by a few pips. But either way, if you got in, we had a pretty good day. So I've been waiting for this short to happen for this move to happen for all week, really. I've been waiting for this to happen. Actually, I've been waiting since last week. I didn't even push a trade out last week. Because I've been waiting for this move. And it finally happened. So, looking at the 1 hour chart, right? I pushed this out during the U.S. session. Excuse me. Let's drop down to the 30. Right? I pushed this out during the U.S. session, and if you've been with us for a while, you probably know I don't trade the U.S. session barely at all. It's very rare that I do that. But this was one of those times where I was pretty confident in the setup, and I liked what I saw. So I pushed it out right here at about 17, or excuse me, it was like 1700 server time, 9:30-ish, 9:35-ish local time to Central Standard Time. We had our moon all the way up here on the 25 pit stop hunt box. Right, I talked about how I wanted to see a indicator on the top end of the 4 hour chart before looking to take this short again. They gave that to us. I'll pull that up real quick. On the 4 hour chart, they gave us this moon this star right up here, pinned through the 50 EMA. I mean, it was beautiful, right? I was very excited once I saw that start to form. Then I dropped down to the 1 hour chart, right? Obviously, continuing with the check down. I was like, oh, okay, great. We have a moon on the 1 hour chart pinned, obviously, through the 200 EMA because it pinned through the 50 on the 4 hour. And I was like, okay, great. So I started to move down to the 30-minute chart, right? Looking for, getting ready to look for entry. And then I was like, okay, so we have a moon on the 30-minute chart as well, pinned through the 800 EMA. And we have consolidation up here off the high of the day. I also looked at the news. I knew that there was going to be red news coming out that was going to affect the U.S. dollar. That news was about the Fed's decision on interest rates. And usually I don't really take a lot of news and economic data into account because that stuff doesn't have a lot of effect on the market. Market makers just use it to make the move with their trend. But what the difference with this was due to everyone knows inflation's going on, right? And whenever inflation happens, the Fed has to increase interest rates to stabilize the economy. So I was pretty confident that they were going to use that news to affect the U.S. dollar because that kind of news affects so much of the U.S. economy, and I was right. I pushed out the entry on the 15-minute chart. I pushed it out on this candle right here. I'm going to zoom in for you guys so you can see it. Here we go. This one right here. We had come off consolidation of the high of the day. Right, first leg from the previous high. This was my second leg here, right? And then I pushed it out here once we got the close below the red EMA, the 13 EMA, otherwise known as the catch-up. We sat in this trade for a few hours. What was it? Probably, 3.5 hours. I think it was. We just had to sit in it and let it wait because the news release, when I pushed it out, the news release wasn't for another, I think, 2 hours and 45 minutes, give or take. And so I knew that we were going to have to sit in this trade until the news release. And I'm telling you, once that news release happened, right, we're going to drop down to this 1 minute time frame to show you how quickly they snatched the market. Just give it a second to load in because it's so much more data. This was a absolutely perfect trade. What is happening with your computer?
If they do a strong shift like that, the candles become small to where you can't really see.
This looks really weird. All right. Well, no problem. I am just going to. Jeez. Here we go. I'll just use the 5-minute chart for reference. All right, so we took plus 65 on this trade, and they shifted. So they shifted the zone in 2 minutes. Here we go. This is the 1 minute chart. Boom. So they shifted the zone in literally 2 minutes. So from this candle, right, to here, right, that was already 43 pips, almost 50. Smooth, easy profit. It was quick money. So I just want to illustrate. This is why we pay attention to the news, right? So we come here and exactly on the top of the hour at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, which is when the news released. It happened exactly at that time. So I just wanted to trade up that if I could take a picture of it, I would take a picture of it and frame it. I probably couldn't have called this any better. All right, but let's go over my directional bias for the rest of the night. I see them coming back up to retest the 50 EMA and continue short on the 15-minute chart. If we look at the 1 hour chart, that would look like them coming back up to the 13 EMA and hitting the market baseline. Now, my directional bias is both ways tonight because they made such a strong shift. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we're gonna have an opportunity to take a buy position in this pair because they're gonna have to try to get some money back because this forced a lot of traders to think that the market's going short, which it is, but they've now put their money and committed their money. So the market maker will want to get that money if it's committed up here, right? So I think they're going to want to come back up, about halfway and pin at least the 13 or maybe even better would be the 50 EMA to continue to take the retail traders' money, because this shift shows me that there was a lot of retail traders that were taking this pair long, and using whatever stupid strategies that they use that don't work. Okay. All right, moving on. We got GJ. GJ didn't move very much last night, but this is probably my favorite pair for the night. I think we have a really strong possibility for a short position. We have our peak formation over here, right? They've consolidated around the 50 EMA for a long time now, and they've thrown these trap candles up here, but they've respected this high throughout everything, right? We have a moon on the top end here on the 4-hour chart. We now have a pin to the 50 and these deep wicks that are sitting above it, right? But they're not, that tells me they're just trapping money up there, which is perfect because I want to be able to take this short. Looking at the 1-hour chart, right? Once it loads in, I'd like to see them come back up to retest this 50 EMA through the Asian session. They have this moon on the bottom end, right? TDI's hitting this bottom Bollinger Band. Them coming back up to retest this 50 EMA and give us that indicator on the top side on the 1-hour chart would be great. I'd like to just see just a star up there. That's all I really need to see right now. And that would look like the TDI hitting this top Bollinger Band, or at a bare minimum poking above the mid-level and the market baseline, and then giving us an M formation to take short. So the bias for GJ is short and short only. If we don't see an M formation, we obviously won't be taking it. All right, moving on to GM. GN moved down again yesterday. I'm going to start at the 1-hour chart so I can illustrate what we got going on. They issued a stop hunt high, right? The directional bias for GN has been short. They issued an aggressive stop hunt at the end of the day yesterday, and have now started and moved short during the Asian session. Very frustrating that I don't like it when they move like this during the Asian session, because it basically makes it so we don't have a very good ability to get into the trade, because we don't trade the Asian session. Additionally, they've already blown out the Asian box at 131 pips.
Wow, that is record setting.
Yeah, probably that's top 5, top 3 biggest Asian range boxes I think I've ever seen in my career. I mean, that is just massive. So that's a no trade for tonight. We'll look at it again probably next week. All right, last but not least.
Can you explain to them why?
Oh, yeah, you're right. So blown out Asian box is anything over about 52 pip range within the Asian box, right? So you can see these other ones on the previous days, right? Nice tight Asian range, right? This one here is, 1 second while it loads, or not. This one's about 40. This one here is probably, 55, ish, which is manageable. 52, we can live with that. This one here is probably closer to 60. GN, I can live with 60 maximum, just because it's a heavy mover. But anything over, really, for general rule of thumb, over 52 pip Asian range, we don't trade. It's considered blown out, because even if they give us a second leg, and come back up and even retest that in the middle of that Asian range for the second leg, you have to risk so much more to enter that trade. You're now having to set 30, 40 pip stop loss, so that you can safely set it above the high of the day, and that puts a lot of money on the table to be grabbed up by the market maker, and we don't like to do that. So rule of thumb, right? Just anything over 52 is where I'm usually pretty comfortable. At the maximum, I usually actually stop looking at about 35, 40, and you just don't trade it. It's not worth the risk. All right, here we go. Last but not least is EG. We got a really good buy opportunity here for EG tonight. Really liking this pair for a buy opportunity. So we got essentially consolidation with 3 deep hits to the low. right? So they've been consolidating here for weeks, almost a month actually. They've been consolidating at this level. We have 3 moons on the bottom end. This moon is our last indicator on the 4-hour chart, right? And so we have TDI not only hitting once, now twice in the past 24 to 36 hours. So that is a really, really good sign. Coming down the 1-hour chart. Pardon me. We have a moon. Deep wick to the bottom end here on, the 1-hour chart, right? This shows me that there were some more contracts on the bottom end here because they came back down to retest right here. So they induced more traders short, and there was what's called pending orders set down here by retail traders. So they spiked down here and picked them up. So I'm expecting a W formation coming out of the Asian session into the London. Again, TDI on the 1-hour chart on that bottom Bollinger Band, right? Just touching it and really giving us a good signal there. So we're going to wait. We're going to be monitoring this 30-minute chart now on the back quarter of the Asian range box. I'd like to see them just really come back down here to retest this daily low. And we might actually take that trade if we get a good enough entry. Again, right, being even more highly selective with this pair because it's an expensive pair to trade. Okay, and that's really all I got for tonight. We had a pretty good day today. We had a plus 65. Javon, you got anything else you want to cover?
No. I'll let you know around 1:01 if we'll be on for a live session, if I'll be on or not. But there's about 3 solid pairs that we're looking at for the setups.
Yeah,
that is it.
So if we get some good setups, we'll do the live session. If not, obviously there's no point if there's no good setups. If you guys have any further questions, feel free to hit us up in the group chat or send us a DM if that's more comfortable for you. Otherwise, we'll be back on tomorrow at 8:30 Central Standard Time for your final daily market update. Have a good night.